ADHD is a diagnosis that we hear a lot about these days, and while there's awareness, there's also a lot of misconceptions. Rebecca Jackson from Brain Balance Achievement Center is here to shed some light on ADHD. So it's a lack of attention and focus, but that's not the whole story, is it?
Exactly. We tend to think of ADHD by the symptoms, but really if you look at brain imaging on a child, there's actual physical differences in the brain of a child with ADHD versus a non-ADHD child. And what we're seeing is there's actually regions of the brain that aren't as well connected, meaning some areas of the brain aren't going to function as successfully as they would or should.
Okay.
So again, we think of it as lack of attention and focus, but the areas of the brain impacted are also going to impact maturity of social interactions. Things like your brake and impulse control. It can impact things like fine motor development, academic pieces like reading comprehension and math story problems.
Yeah.
So ADHD with attention and focus, that is a huge component, but it is more than just that attention and focus.
What do you mean about brake control? What does that mean?
That's a good question. So we all have thoughts running through our head. I'm hungry right now, but my right brain is telling me not really the appropriate time to talk about it. Yeah. So when an area of your brain is functioning and kicking in the way it's supposed to, we're going to be given impulse control.
Okay.
So for children that suffer with ADHD, they don't have the same degree of brake that you and I do.
Oh.
So a thought that runs through their head like, Mom, I want to go to the pool today, may come out over and over and over again.
Okay.
Or, flicking your buddy in the ear at
Right.
school or whatever the case may be for that example.
Okay. There's this perception that eventually it'll just go away, but the stats show that that's not the case.
Exactly. And for many kids, you can outgrow some of the symptoms associated with ADHD, but studies are showing us that millions of adults are still struggling with some of these key components. And what studies are showing us is this can have a really significant impact on adults. So it can impact earning potential. There's higher degrees and higher levels of alcohol and drug dependence, higher divorce rates. So again, just because you have ADHD doesn't mean that you're destined to struggle with those pieces, but it's having a significant impact not only on our youth, but on our adults as well.
So what about medication? Is that the route to go or not?
That's a tough question because as a parent, when a child is struggling and you're getting notes home from the teacher, you want to do something to help that child be successful. The Wall Street Journal just this last week ran a great article looking at research from several different groups, looking at exactly how ADHD medications impact school and academic success. And long-term studies are showing that there's no academic benefit long-term for ADHD medication. So one of the studies showed that there was that first year of medication that there was a slight improvement in grades, but over a 3-year period, by that 3 years, that increase had actually been negated, and an 8-year follow-up study showed no long-term benefit.
Right.
And so that's tough for a family because, again, you want to help the child be more successful, and the thought is if we medicate to help with attention and focus, that's going to help the child be more successful in school. And for some children, that may be the case. Every child and every situation is different, but the long-term large studies aren't showing a huge impact on academic success for children with ADHD.
So parents are probably wondering, so what do I do? If medicine isn't the answer, what is?
Yeah. So what we're doing at Brain Balance is, again, we're looking not at treating the symptom, but we're trying to help the brain connect in a more successful way. So sometimes there's areas or regions of the brain that are actually over-connected, so over-amplifying information for a child. So what sounds like a little bit of noise to you and I might sound like a huge amount of noise to a child, which can impact attention and focus in the classroom.
Okay.
And so what we're trying to do at Brain Balance is to kind of disperse those connections, so tone down the areas that are over-connected and increase the level of engagement of the areas that aren't connected enough, trying to impact all of those areas to help the child be more successful with academics and attention and focus.
Great information. Glad to hear there are alternatives.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
To find out more about how the Brain Balance program can benefit you or your child, schedule an appointment at either the Cary or Wake Forest location. Go to brainbalancecenters.com.